Great news for everyone. Auburn does not seem to be done in this portal window.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining us for a few minutes, it is the Ben Taylor over at the Auburn Network. He does his morning show, Auburn Oplaga, this morning, every single day on News Talk WANI. The staff continues to get after it because there's just not an off weekend. There's not an off weekend when it comes to this team. And some of it's public, like this weekend, and some of it is making sure everybody stays out of the portal leading up to, what happened last week or a few days ago, whenever that was, when the portal closed. So they've got guys coming in, but Ben, you and I were chatting before we clicked record. And there's a few position groups that everybody kind of agrees. It's like, okay, like Auburn's done a lot in the portal. They've really revamped the offense. There might be some positional questions as far as depth, but on defense, like they need defensive linemen. They need linebackers. It seems like the defensive linemen are coming in this weekend. AJ Hoffler of Clemson, Jeffrey M'Ba from Purdue.
What is that all
also
about?
From Auburn. I love it. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait about that. I hope he signs here. Chris Murray of Sam Houston State, and then Terry Webb of Texas State. And Daryl and I will go kind of more in depth on like what each of these guys bring on tomorrow morning's edition of Locked On Auburn. But I just think this shows that this staff is relentless, and they're going to use every single second of available time that they can to host these guys until spring semester starts and it's too late to enroll.
Man, if you're M'Ba, you get to go through two very different recruiting processes of going to Auburn.
Sure.
Because you went through the worst recruiter ever to be a part of Auburn University and Auburn football.
M'Ba loved Harsin, though.
He did.
There was that video that went viral of them like hugging each other and stuff.
Yes.
Like he loved Harsin.
Yes, that was like, it was just them in a room and hugging each other and loving each other and the green hair and all that kind of stuff.
To the point where it's like, should somebody have been filming this? Like this seemed like really like personal, like between the two of them. Like they really like had a connection. And then it just, I don't know, it went viral, obviously.
Well, the thing is, I think he sold him a bad deal of goods. And so it sounds like he really enjoyed his time at Auburn or he wouldn't make this visit.
Sure.
Because he doesn't, you and I have talked about this. There's nobody on the team from the Harsin administration hardly anymore now. I mean, everybody's left. They've either transferred out or they've been put at, like, it's not like he's got a tie, an emotional tie to go, hey, I want to be back with my boys and be back in the room with the defensive linemen.
There's not many. Like Jeremiah Wright.
Nothing in his position room, though, right?
And what?
Nothing in his position room, though.
Defensive lineman? I don't think so.
No. So it's not like he's got an emotional tie. Coaching staff is completely different, so he doesn't have a tie to a coach.
Right.
So clearly he enjoyed the university. He enjoyed his time here. He just didn't like the situation, so he got out. And it sounds like he may be coming back.
Yeah, it's so interesting with M'Ba visiting this weekend. And for those who don't know, like number one JUCO player his class, or maybe number one defensive line JUCO player, he was rated very highly. And I mean, that was kind of seen as one of the biggest recruiting wins of the Harsin era. It didn't really pan out. And I don't think it was all M'Ba. And so he leaves, goes to Purdue, had a solid season. I think he played over like 600 snaps. Like he was one of their guys, pretty much all of the three techniques, some defensive end, very little nose. And he's interested in coming back. And so he left as this guy that had all of this potential, right? And it's like, oh, Auburn wasted him, which not the worst argument in the world. How much of that was Auburn? How much of that was M'Ba? We heard different things about, maturity and things like that. So he goes off.
Not the only player we heard that about either.
Sure. Right. No, you're right. You're right. And so like how much of that is, one side or the other. But then he proves it at Purdue, was solid. It seemed like, according to like Pro Football Focus grading, his best two games of the year were against Indiana and who was the other one? Notre Dame, maybe? It was two of the better teams that he played. It wasn't Ohio State. I don't think he had a good game against Ohio State. But
two playoff teams. How about that?
Yeah, all in all, it's like, okay, cool. Like you love to see You love to see that. And then if he comes here, you would have him and Malik Blockton together. Like, there's a lot to like about Jeffrey M'Ba. And obviously it's a position of need, which is maybe priority number one at this point.
Yeah, we've talked about that with defensive line. I mean, it's just something that Auburn can't have enough of them. I don't think. Do you think recruits understand that? Like, when they're like, "How come you're talking to 3 other guys?" It's like, listen, you guys are going to get plenty of playing time, plenty of snaps. Trust me, we need the bodies to be out there and be on the field. And
yeah, and that was something that Jason Jones, when he used to come on the show while he was here, would talk about. Is they like the idea of, if we only have to play 40 or 50 snaps a game, like we can do everything. We talk about that with basketball, right? With these guys that play for Bruce Pearl.
Oh yeah,
like, you're not going to get as many minutes, but man, you're going to be able to be so great and go all out in the minutes that you play. I think it's a similar thing with a position like defensive line, where you constantly need to rotate. And look, it's probably better for M'Ba's game long-term for him to not be on the field on 3rd and long.
Yeah, for 60, 70 snaps a game. Like, he doesn't need to be out there that long.
Right.
And it was released in the news earlier this week. They talked about, I forgot what player it said, but they said, that's the difference between a defensive lineman and offensive lineman. Offensive lineman gives up 1 sack. They could lose, they could drop a round in the draft. One guy gains a sack on defensive line, and he goes from a 2nd-round pick to a 1st-round pick. Maybe. Like, it's that one thing that can make a difference. And so if you can stay fresh, I don't see why more defensive linemen would not buy into that, to say, hey, you're only going to get 30, 40 snaps, but you're going to be out there, you're going to be fresh, and you're going to play against top quality opponents.
Yeah.
Get your name out there.
Yeah. So this staff continues to get after it. We'll do a deep dive into all 4 of these guys on tomorrow morning's show. Daryl will join me for that, so be sure to come back for that. But what else does Auburn need to do in the portal? And
you want to stay on the defensive line or switch to offense?
Well, let's switch to offense in just a second.
Okay.
That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Ben, can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel?
No.
And
right now, basically take any team that does not have a bye.
No kidding. That's pretty wild. Your first $5 bet wins, Ben, you get $250 in bonus bets.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. I'm not betting against Ohio State right now.
No.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. Hey, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. Ben, it's the start of the new year. We've got all these goals. How many people do you think their goal is, I want to be worse off with my money this year?
Oh, golly. After the last couple of years, definitely not me. I need to be better off with my money.
Everything is subscription-based now, it seems like, and it's so hard to keep track of what you're paying for and what you've canceled and what actually didn't cancel and because a lot of times you'll go to cancel and be like, oh, well, let's just delay it. Let's pause it for 30 days because they know what they're doing. And the way you can fight back is with Rocket Money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first or second listen every single day. This is a bonus edition of the show with the Ben Taylor. You mentioned offense.
Yep.
What Auburn needs to do elsewhere in the portal on offense. They've been very busy. What else do you want to see?
Like to see a little bit of depth. I still would like to see a 4th quarterback if at all possible. However, that's going to be a special situation, in my opinion, because they're going to come in knowing they're probably the 4th guy, or at least a chance to be the 3rd guy. So they're going to come in knowing I'm going to be the scout team quarterback. So I need to accept that right away. And so it's going to be somebody that, what sticks out in my mind? Tucker Tuberville years ago, the whole reason he stayed with Malzahn was so he could learn the way he did the offense, and he could possibly use that in the coaching world a little bit later on. So if you can find a guy like that at quarterback that has a little bit of talent, that has a strong mental game, and bring them in and let them just kind of study what takes place with this offense and be a part of it and run some scout team stuff, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
That would be a win. It's got to be such a tricky situation because you can't get another high school guy because it's like they're going to back up Deuce Knight, and you also don't want Deuce Knight to feel like we're considering other things. Surely if that were to happen, they would over-communicate with everybody in the room. But also, like, you've got, with Ashton Daniels, you've got an older guy that's like, okay, like, can you get another one of those? It's just kind of cool being the experienced backup. I'd love to have that, but how many people are going to do that? So it's going to be an interesting situation. I think they've got a plan here already.
Okay.
I think they have something kind of already done that kind of checks all of these boxes. Say like, hey, look, you're not going to be the guy, but you're going to help us in practice. You're not going to get hit. You're going to get paid well. And oh yeah, you get to go to Auburn and be a quarterback at Auburn and be a rock star everywhere you go.
Yep.
Oh no, yeah, this fan base loves backup quarterbacks. Like you're gonna be all about it. So to me,
the best 3 in the room next year will be the 2, the 3, and the 4. There's no doubt in my mind with this fan base.
There will be some fan base who's like, we're starting the 4th worst guy. There'll be some people that say it. I can't wait. I can't wait for the YouTube comments. It's coming. But yeah, I agree with that. Like you definitely need a 4th guy to run practice, or do you want to promote somebody that's a walk-on, but you're still using those walk-ons in practice too. So like it doesn't really fix the issue. So I'm interested to see what they do there. I agree.
The other one,
yeah,
and it seems to point that all signs that Omar Mabson probably is going to be a signee that comes in. He's reclassified.
Auburn High School running back.
Auburn High School running back. At a 7A running back. Auburn seems to be choice number 1. If he falls through, I think you still have to get another running back somehow or another. That is a position I think of need. And I don't know if that's because I'm still not certain where we stand as far as who's in the room right now.
Yeah.
That'd be if that's your fallback plan that works out, Omar Mabson, that's a pretty daggum good fallback plan
especially if you keep Cobb and Damari through that next window. It's like worst case, he's your 5th running back. Omar Mabson is your 5th running back. Like, okay, yeah, we'll take that.
And you and I talked about it. He and Alvin Henderson are very similar. I told you, I think Omar's he's a little faster, in my opinion. I know it wouldn't seem that way when you see highlight videos because Alvin's out running everybody. Alvin was running against a little bit smaller school than what Omar was probably running against. So I like the plus side. Now, if he decides to flip and go somewhere else or decides he wants to go away from home for a little bit, then I still think you're back. I still think you need to grab one. You need to come and some guy that's solid, smaller school, able to kind of give you 3 or 4 runs, maybe a half if need be, because somebody needs a blow.
Yeah.
You get to use him in practice quite a bit. And maybe somebody that's even got some issues like, I don't know, even holding on the ball that you think you can cure him when you get him here or something.
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, I can fix him.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, the guy fumbles 3 times a game, but we'll fix that because he also runs a 4.2. So we'll find a way to glue the ball to him in order to make it happen. But if there's a guy out there that's like that, that would be awesome to have. But I still think
I think, Omar Mabson, I mean, it sounds like he reclassified with Auburn in mind. And so if you were to lose a guy, which I still think Cobb is the most likely to leave, and I'm super glad that he's still here and he's going to go through spring. But if you were to lose a back in the portal, because I think you're fine going into the season with 4 scholarship backs.
Yeah.
But if you get that 5th one, great. You're losing scholarship somewhere else, but whatever. But the good thing about the timing of this is if you do lose a back or any position, but since we're talking about running back in the spring window, there's just so many backs out there. And I think there's going to be a lot of running backs that go through spring somewhere else. And they're like, oh, I didn't get as many touches with the ones as I wanted. Like, you're going to be able to find guys, but they won't be Jeremiah Cobb or Damari.
No, and guys like that,
or maybe even Omar. But I think I think you get Omar in this on actual signing day, which sounds ridiculous to say now. And I don't know. I just think if guys were probably going to leave, they probably would have left. So
well, and switching a little bit, staying on the offensive side of the football. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. I always love having too many linemen. I don't think you can have too many linemen. So
they've got a lot.
If there's, somebody out there, and even if it's somebody that, I've seen some of those hybrids, especially at some of these smaller schools that you saw play in some of the early bowl games where they got a guy that could almost like double as a tackle and a tight end. If they could find somebody like that you could use maybe in a tight end blocking situation type deal, maybe you grab somebody like that where
Yeah, they did that with Jaden Muskrat last year. Wonder if they'd have somebody else in that role this year.
Yeah, somebody that they're not really big enough to play tackle at this particular level.
Yeah.
But if you put them at a tight end position, you're not putting them out there for their hands. That's for sure. You're putting them out there to make a hole for somebody. And I think that would be advantageous to have as well.
Yep. I agree. Ben Taylor, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Auburn Opelika this morning is 5 days a week now that all the holidays are over. So
we're back.
You can catch me Monday through Friday instead of the abbreviated version of Auburn Opelika this morning. 6 to 9, we do sports each and every morning just after 7 o'clock. So we would love to have you there. You can just go to aunetwork.com, click on the WANI logo.
Yep. Be sure to give Ben some love for sure. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.